Yo! Before the video starts, I have to warn y'all, there's jump scares on this video if you still haven't seen the title of the video. It's about a scary saga with full flashing lights, so if you're not comfortable with those type of video games, I suggest you leave the video. I mean, you can do what you want and still watch the video and comment about the video, but if you're not comfortable with that stuff, don't come at me in the comment section saying, "Hey, you didn't warn me about this scrimmage, you little Mexican tortilla I'm disliking." So, with this introduction, you've been warned. I told you there was going to be jump scares. Hello, amigos. Ever seen this face? Aww, isn't he friendly? You wouldn't even wonder what is inside of him. No, don't Google. Five Nights at Freddy's. If you were born after the 2000s, you most likely know what an entire roller coaster of emotion this saga has brought to the world. Living animatronics that are roaming around the building while you are the night security guard and trying to survive till 6 in the morning is something that I can confirm you is not something you want to live. And horror games existed before Five Nights at Freddy's. That's nothing to be surprised about. Of course, you have one of the most acclaimed scary games, Outlast, that released a year before Five Nights at Freddy's. But, and this is only my opinion, I think that Five Nights at Freddy's is unique in every single aspect of its own and the best horror saga. Five Nights at Freddy's has not only changed the way we see animatronics, but also the way horror games are made. Okay, we are wandering a bit too off without even explaining what Five Nights at Freddy's is. So let's start right at the beginning with Five Nights at Freddy's 1. It was on August 8 of 2014, so relaxing and so calm. Still a revolutionary game dropped by Scott Gotham, ready to make a lot of children Scott and a lot of grown men to make a lot of money. None of us will ever forget how iconic is the first ever Five Nights at Freddy's. And just coming back to the game after some time, it still gives me goosebumps to see Bunny standing on the window or Foxy running down the hall. Even though there is so much room for improvement, I still think that this is the one that will get you more scared, in my opinion. Alright, but what does it make it scary? As I've said, right as you enter the game and start the first ever night, you are now stuck while some guy on the phone is explaining to you that you are the new security guard of the new Fazbear's Pizza, a magical place for kids and grown-ups alike where fantasy and fun come to life. He explains that the animatronics like to roam around on the building, and if they see you because of their AI, they will see you as an endoskeleton and want to stuff you into an animatronic suit, aka, they send you on a trip to Belize. Phone guy hangs up and now you are alone with the animatronics, waiting for your shift to end. This is what I like about the first game. The first night of Five Nights at Freddy's is always gonna be my favorite because of the unsettling feeling of this place. You are just done finished talking with the phone guy and he tells you that these characters like to roam around the building and can kill you if they see you. That feeling of needing to see if they move for some reason, but also being afraid if they move because what if they catch you? How scary is this game gonna be? And not only that, but the only sound that you are constantly hearing are the light and the fan. The gameplay of you being stuck in a single place with no mobility than just turning your head back and forth, and also the sounds that make you feel alone and unsafe, just makes the first night so horrifying and so special compared to other gameplays at the time. And then, just as when you start to feel somewhat comfortable, boom, Bonnie moves. That experience of the animatronics actually moving and knowing that they are being watched by you, it starts to feel even more scary since he is on his way to, take the everyday coffee with you and talk about how life has been. Oh yeah, and also kill you. But from the first night onward, it seems it's more of the same stuff. Trying to keep the animatronics out of your office and keeping up with Foxy since he can come at you to warn you about the other animatronics. What a nice guy. Jokes aside, there will never be another first horror game such as Five Nights at Freddy's, and it changed the internet for good. The creator, in desperate need to have some money, decided to change routes with the game he was creating and decided to try with horror on Five Nights at Freddy's, and it turned out perfectly for him. as well as content creators that their whole channel grew with the game, publishing theories and also really hard modes such as the first custom nights or unsolved mysteries like why does Foxy come running down the hall? And we haven't even talked about the story that was set on the first game. While you are exploring the game, you can see some posters that have relation to Freddy Fazbear Pizza. You know, the incident I'm talking about, the 5 missile children that are the animatronics that are chasing you. Also, the Bite of 87 or the last calls from the phone guy. Every detail wants you to know that it was a great mistake taking that job application for a night guard, and the killer animatronics that are possessed by children are after you. But not only that, the creativity for the whole ambience is another thing that I really like. Possessed animatronics in a Chuck E. Cheese type of pizzeria? Like, that's something that wasn't really anywhere on the market at the time. We saw like possessed children or big man with no face, but an animatronic? How can that be so scary? Oh boy, it really is scary. Alright. The jumps. Remember what I said in the beginning? I'm not just talking about the jumps because we all know. I think if the game was just jump scare, wouldn't be that scary in my opinion. But it's those little details that really make you nervous. Just as when you hear little steppy steps right beside you, or when you discover one of them looking at you when you turn on the flashlight, and then accepting your fate when the door doesn't close, meaning that there is no other way than just giving up and flipping the camera. But even that, when you're watching the camera and hear some creaks or some noises, it means he isn't there with you. He's just waiting for you to close the camera. Those little details are some that I really love, since it adds more and more scary beats and leads up to a great jump scare. And pretty much everything about the first game and its release was perfect and turned out for the better for everyone. And from that point there was nowhere to go but up. This is meaning extend more the whole story with another game, as well as introduce more characters that can make this game feel really different. And that's what happened with Five Nights at Freddy's 2. But honestly, I don't feel this game as scary as the other one. The skill level for this one sure is another thing, since you have more stuff to take care of, such as sound cues, or putting on the mask, winding on the music box, flashing lights at the animatronics, etc. But it's not that unsettling, since at that point we all know the whole shenanigans about the animatronics, and for the first game, we didn't really know what this could do or who they were, and now we do! They're dead children. Let me talk to you about my top 3 scary games from this saga. First of all, Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator. This one falls into the same category as Five Nights at Freddy's 1, but except it's far more punishing. In this game, you don't have cameras, you only have sensors that take forever to tell you where the animatronics are. You have no doors, and the only thing keeping them far are sounds that play on the vents. And as I've said, this one falls into the same category as the first game. That feeling of being alone with monsters that are trying to get you, and no other self-defense than audio cues and a flashlight, and the animatronics being really important characters of the franchise, it sums up to a 10 out of 10 experience. The second most scary game in my opinion is Five Nights at Freddy's 1. And I've already talked about this one, so why not just skip this one? Yeah, we should. We should. And the one that scared me the most, Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Even though this game can be pretty easy in my opinion just because of the sound cues, the chills that I get when I hear the animatronics breathing, or watching Foxy get into the closet, or closing the door before the animatronic gets closer and flashing the light to see if he's still there. Oh my god, the design of the animatronics. Scott Cawthon went all the way through with the designs after being told that Five Nights at Freddy's 3 wasn't scary. All of the feats and the sharpness of the fingers really are nightmare fuel for everyone. And hey, would you look at that, they are nightmares. Other than these 3 games, the other ones, yeah, can be a little bit scary. But I don't feel that much horror. I don't feel that alone compared to my top 3. It's not that I hate the other games of the saga, but for my opinion, they are not that scary. They fall more into the hardness category, since these can get really difficult. But I gotta tell y'all that the worst game from the franchise, or the one that didn't really live up to my expectation, is Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Not even me building up an impressive jump scare or a scream out of the sudden won't get you scared. See, I told you, this game is not that scary. Although the scary bit is not that bad, the whole story of this game with all the minigames and Easter egg, the plot twist of the animatronic that gives the bad jump scare is actually a dead human. Yes. Just at the end we can see that the one that's been haunting us is Purple Guy, the one that did all the murder, and the dead children are tormenting him for his past and the atrocious acts he did. But as a way to torment the dead children back like he did in the good old days, or bad old days, he puts on the spring lock suit and it fails, killing him on the act. Also, all of the other minigames that hints about how the murders were done or freeing their souls of the original animatronics, they feel so mysterious. This game had some loose ends, but imagine that Scott made the jump scares really scary on this game. Five Nights at Freddy's 3 would have been the end of the trilogy, but because it wasn't that scary, Five Nights at Freddy's 4 appeared, and well, we all know what happened. Honestly, from Five Nights at Freddy's 4, I think the story got a lot more scrambled, and well, it's nice to see people losing their minds over a box, but also, I don't know how to feel seeing this story getting expanded over and over with more characters and unexplainable things that want to make sense, but they really don't make sense to anyone. But let's take a step to the side and not focus on the games for now. Let's focus more on what Five Nights at Freddy's has done for the world. First of all, I want to mention the amazing community that Five Nights at Freddy's has created. And I'm not talking about the weird fan art. I'm talking about the VHS community that create these amazing videos with variations of the characters. There's VHS training tapes that simulate how to clean an animatronic at a Fazbear entertainment location, or watching people enter the building just to see if it's possessed or not. And pretty much every single VHS is different in its own way, and they also have that touch that the first game has. Uneasy feelings and the thought that you're alone watching that VHS tapes. Not all of them have screamers or something loud exactly, but it's those frames where the animatronics are looking at you that make me want to throw my phone out of the goddamn window. And I'm not just going to talk about that part of the community. This community has put out amazing fan-made games such as The Joy of Creation, where you live different lives that are tormented by the animatronics, or The Glitch Attraction, a perfect fan game that turns Five Nights at Freddy's ambience into an escape room type of game where you have to avoid the animatronics while you are making tasks to get to the next level. And I've just mentioned two out of the amazing whole universe of fan games this saga has. There's games like Return of the Bloody Knights, or Five Nights at Freddy's Jr., or the upcoming Five Nights at Freddy's Plus, that is a remaster of the first game of the saga. Pretty much everything for this game has turned out perfectly, and we really have to thank Scott Cawthon for all these amazing gameplays that have changed the internet and made a lot of people happy, but also afraid of going to Chuck E. Cheese. Thank you so much, Scott Cawthon, for making Five Nights at Freddy's, for every single detail he dropped on the internet for an upcoming game, for all the Easter eggs that have been discovered, the design of the characters that made an impact on how we see horror nowadays. Thank you for dropping the FNAF plushies as a real thing. And last but not least, thank you for hiring Frank Sinatra to produce the music of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Only got 5 nights